Hey everyone. I'm so glad to be back. Um, Thank you for tuning in to this live with Global Sistas Connection. If you happen to catch this on the replay, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. But this is a Black woman's channel where we talk about health, both physical and mental health. We talk about traveling, social issues, and small scale finance. Not much. If I know something, I'll share. Um, so I swear when you've been off YouTube for 1 week, just 1 week, I had to take a little break because I wasn't feeling that good last week. But when you're off for 1 week, let me make sure I'm not on mute. It feels like you've been off forever. It feels like you rusty, you have to get back into the YouTube thing. But how is everyone doing? Happy Sunday. Hope some of you are doing self care Sunday. I am going to do mine later when I'm done doing everything I need to do with the hot bath. Got my kombucha, and I am just here to talk about the downfall of sisters oversharing. Sometimes you just have to keep things to yourself. But I'm gonna try to let a few people come in. Um, I actually missed YouTube last week though. Ooh, I was like, I don't know. I had something similar to the flu, I think. I know it wasn't the the C word. But I didn't have cold symptoms. I just had body aches. And I was really, really tired. I mean, I knew part of what it was related to, but I'm back and I'm glad to be back and I'm glad to be back here with you all. So let's get into the topic today, the downfall of sisters oversharing. If you come into the chat, just say hi, whatever, comment, feel free. Feel free. So, what brought this topic on? Because it's typical for us to always overshare. Um, Black women wanting to talk to other Black women, wanting to talk to family members, friends. It's not uncommon. It's not uncommon for us. I mean, it's actually normal for you to want to talk about things. Sometimes we can just get a little bit carried away and share a little bit of information that we probably shouldn't. I see some people in the chat. Hello, is it Louise Fleming? How are you? Thank you for joining. Happy Sunday to you. Um, let's see here. Sonia Unapologetic. Hey sis, how are you? Happy Sunday. Um, so let me get into the topic really quick. Okay, part of the downfall of us oversharing can be a downfall of a relationship. And I say that because when you confide in someone that you trust, right? Let's just say another sister, since this is a Black woman's channel, and you like to feel like you're in a safe space talking to this individual. It could be a downfall of a relationship when somehow your business gets out there or you're being, judged really bad by them when you're trying to share something with them. Um, and I'm sure a lot of Black women have gone through this. Um, and the best way, if you're on the other end of the receiving information, because communication is a two-way street, you have the sender and the receiver. So, if you're really a good friend, consider yourself of a good friend of someone who's sharing information with you and confiding in you. Consider that to be a privilege, an honor, and don't just tell people business. And some sisters will do that to you because it makes them feel good to know that you're probably struggling with something and you're not in a good space. And that's really sad, but it's true when they share your information like that. Um, oh wow. And I think we've all gone through it. I don't think I've really went through something like it recently, but it is a topic because it happens. It does happen. And then, or sometimes you've shared something with a friend and you're no longer friends, maybe not specifically because of that, but you've, you've shared that information with them. You've shared that information with them, and that information is possibly out there. And so you just want to be careful of some things you have to say. Some things, the old school saying, take it to the grave. Sometimes you have to do that. But also, oversharing can come from a lack of therapy, because in therapy you can kind of talk. You can kind of talk. That's the place where you can just share some information. You can talk about things you're going through, things you're thinking about, concerns that you have. That's where you can share a lot of your information. Now, I do have a live coming up about therapy, because that's a um, that's a slippery slope topic too. And I'm gonna quickly give you an example of what I mean. During COVID, during COVID, or I'm not just gonna say during COVID, it was like when the past 3 years there was a lot going on, like 2019, all up until like the end of last year. Especially if you lived in the US, it was just a lot going on. We had the whole election issue, the George Floyd issue. Like, it was just a lot of stuff going on. The racial tension, all of this stuff going on in the US, and then the pandemic, and it was a lot going on. And I just started to feel like, what in the world is going on right now? Like, you were hearing all these things. There was the fear mongering of the news. It was a lot going on. So I was like, you know what? I'm not feeling too good right now. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's depression. I don't know if it's fear. Like, you just kind of, sometimes you don't know, when it was an uncomfortable situation in the society and the environment around me. And most of the time we were on lockdown, we were in the house. So I was like, okay, now, I'm going to give you two different examples of, like, therapy, right? Because, like I said, therapy can be up and down depending on, I believe in doing research in the therapist that you decide to see. Try multiple therapists. Like, if one doesn't work out, go see another one. But for me, I had called EAP, which was like through my employer. You call, it's like a hotline, and they have professional clients, professional therapists. It was meant for me, but I ended up getting another Black woman on the line, and I started talking to her. And she released the mask, the corporate mask, and she was a therapist to me over the phone. She related to me not only just as a human being, but she related to me as a Black woman. Like, she took that mask off. And I think that that's the type of therapist that many other Black women need. Not one that's so stuck into the system, that's basically like, okay, this bullet point, this bullet point, this bullet point. That's not always what we need when you're feeling like you're traumatized or in a certain situation. You need that person to relate. And I was so grateful to be able to talk to her. She called and double checked on me, but the fact that she was so I'm gonna have to plug in my laptop again, but she was able to relate to me as a sister. She took off the corporate, traditional, follow the guidelines of whatever they do in this system that we live in. And she was a sister to me on the phone. And I appreciate that. And that is not always a situation that a lot of us as Black women in therapy will get. So that's what I mean as far as a lack of therapy or poor therapy, because those are, some sisters just won't go. And sometimes you have situations where it's like, I don't see the benefit. Okay. So, yeah, and understand that when you catch yourself oversharing, where you realize, you feel relieved that you got some information out, and then you come home or get in a different space, and then you start thinking to yourself like, I probably shouldn't have gave out that information. I probably shouldn't have shared that information because I don't think it's safe. I don't think it's a possibility that this individual is going to share what I just shared with them. Um, but I need you to understand as Black women that it is a normal act of us needing to share. It is. It's a human thing. It's not necessarily just, and when you're amongst other Black women and you can relate and you're sharing, it can become a very harmonial thing. Like it's a beautiful thing. It's just you just have to know who you're sharing with. You really, really have to know who you're sharing with. Let's see here. Let me see what they're saying in the comments. She says, great topic. Thank you. And I just felt the need to touch on this because it's very common. It's very common that a lot of us overshare and it's normal. It's a normal thing to want to talk to people. And just sometimes you have to be amongst your tribe when you do it. Let's see what Sonia says. We share too much and later those people use that against us. And that's true. That is so true. And it's not everyone who does that, but people do it. And there are signs um you, if you find yourself sharing with someone, like ask yourself, and it's not always, because sometimes you can't always just ask yourself or like do a prereq, is this person okay to share? Sometimes you just find yourself in a situation where you could be out with some friends, you've all had a couple drinks, or you're out and you're just feeling some kind of way. You might have uh just gone through something, whether it's, you went through a situation at your work, and sometimes you just want advice. Sometimes you want to just hypothetically say, give a situation that you're in, and it could be really you, but you want to hypothetically give them a scenario of a situation and get feedback. It's not, it just happens. It does happen. But it can be a downfall, depending on the person you're sharing with, their possible intent when they're receiving that information instead of listening. Because if you have some real people that know that they'll tell your information, but they don't want to, I've never had it happen to me to where someone has been like, or maybe I have, I don't know, where they're like, you know what? I don't think you need to keep telling me this. I don't think you need to keep telling me this. But some people may have had that experience with other people. But it is normal for us to find ourselves in those situations and want to share. It's normal to want to hear things, other perspective of what other women would do or what other people would do when they're in that situation. And it's unfortunate that some people will try to use that against you. Let's see here. Sonia Unapologetic says, I've had some not so good therapists. I kind of feel reluctant to trust another therapist. And that's what I'm saying, because, and I am going to do a video on this coming up. It is scheduled in my live, but that's a part of the situation. Like, I feel like out of the Black community, Black women are more likely to go see a therapist. I do think that sometimes we can recognize and be like, you know what, maybe I need to see someone, maybe I need to go see a therapist, more so than our counterparts that have to hold on to that toughness or whatever that they feel as to why they can't go get therapy. But I feel like we're more likely to go get therapy. Um, but I've also heard from many other Black women, and I've had bad experiences myself. I have, to where it's just a system that they use, which to me is so it's not authentic at all. Like, you're basically using these scales. And like I say, us as Black women have a different level, different type of trauma and things that we go through in society. And not to say that anyone else doesn't have certain issues, but as a Black woman that know other Black women, love other Black women, I know some of the trauma we go through and some of the things that we have to go, talk about, whether it's things from our workspaces, our relationships, our families, just society in itself. And sometimes you feel like, you have to talk those things out. Now, what I will say, and I was trying to leave, leave this for the therapy session that I want to talk about when it comes to choosing a therapist, is there is this one, and I'm pretty sure if you're a Black woman, if you have not heard of this Sistas podcast, you should check it out. It's called, she's been around for a while and she's out of Atlanta, I believe, but it's called Therapy for Black Women or Therapy for Black Girls or something. I'll have to look. I'll put it in the description box later. But I've listened to her many times and she's touched on so many topics. And regardless of the fact that she's a PhD holder, she's coming as a Black woman, like on her podcast, talking about a lot of the trauma. Like her topics are so relatable to the average Black woman. I'm telling you, like she covers a lot. But the whole oversharing thing is I don't know, and I don't think it comes from being a person who talk too much. But sometimes you can be around a person, and if they constantly, I'm gonna give you an example. Like if you're around a person and they're constantly telling other people business, understand likely they're going to tell yours. So that's a sign right there. That's the person that you're around. And you could love that sister's energy or that person's energy, love to be around them. But if they're sharing a lot of other women's or other people in their circle information, it's more than likely that they have or will share yours. Let's see, we got more comments here. Say, when we share, we have to remember, yep, each person has her own point of view. Yes, it's true, which may be in fact differ from ours. It's true. And sometimes that's the reason why we choose to share, is because we want to hear a different perspective of what we're thinking. Because a lot of times I found myself, like, I'm one of those people who will talk out a situation in my head, like if I'm driving or sometimes getting ready for work, and you feeling like you have a little bit of anxiety about something, or something else is on your mind. I am one of those people who will talk it out in my head, and it's so funny because my daughter does that now, and she probably got it from me. I don't know, but I will talk out loud. Sometimes I'll talk in my head, but I'll talk a situation out and think to myself, like, what if this happens? Or what about this? Or I should have said this. Like a lot of times I'll talk that out in my head, and realizing that that's a little bit of form of therapy. A lot of people joke about that and say things like, "Oh, you're crazy if you talk to yourself and your answers yourself back." But I'm like, no, not really. It's kind of common to do that, like to talk out a situation in your head. Let's see here. Oh, no apology needed. I absolutely understood everything that you typed. I understood everything. So don't worry about it. I do that all the time. Let's see here. And Sonia agrees. She was like, they'll listen and nod, pretending to agree with us, but are silently judging us. And that's true. And that is so, so true. And my thing is like, if you have a different opinion about what I'm saying to you, um, I would prefer that you share it with me instead of judge me and then probably share my information and talk bad about me later, like give that information to me, because I'm not an individual that feel like I can't take some type of criticism, or if I'm telling you something and then you'll say, "Well, I really don't know if that's a good idea. What about this? What about that?" That's letting me know you're listening to me. That's letting me know that you care enough to give me another perspective on what I'm saying to you. And and sometimes I think we have to learn to be able, if we're sharing, to be able to take some of that information that we're getting back, that we're receiving back, sometimes, and look at it and be like, well, maybe they're right, instead of thinking that this person is like possibly hating on us or feeling some kind of way. Sometimes they could possibly just be looking out for our best interests. And not to say that that's always the case either, but sometimes if they're really involved in the conversation, they're asking questions, they're giving you feedback, and sometimes that's a sign to me that you're concerned, that you care, and that you're listening. But when they're doing the whole yeah, you might that's a sign that you might want to watch out for that individual, and you might just want to zip it and find a way to quickly end that conversation and stop sharing. Um let's see here. It's healthy to talk things out. It is. And that's why sometimes I'll just talk it out myself. Talk it out with your creator. If you're on your way to work, or you somewhere and you driving or you taking a walk, talk it out. Talk it out and just say, and I am a firm believer that my creator will give me signs and tell me and lead me in the right direction. I know that to be true. Um Now, will I listen is another story. If the intuition that I'm being shown, I ignore it, I have no one to blame but myself for that, because that's there. Let's see. She said they're just nodding and not saying a word. Yeah, because they're taking it in. They're taking it in, and they're probably thinking, I cannot wait. I cannot wait to share this information. That's probably what they're thinking. Because, like I said, if it's a friend that's really involved in your well being and what you're sharing with them, they're going to give you feedback. They're going to give you feedback. They're going to say, well, I understand what you're saying, or well, that makes sense too, or I don't agree, I think that this would be the best option because of this and this. Like, they're involved in the conversation. They're not just taking it all in. Now, there are times where you could be an individual that just talk, 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 but then they'll jump in and they'll cut you off. Because sometimes that's what you have to do. You jump in and cut them off and be like, well, wait a minute, back up. This is what I think. But it's signs there that we understand, like, if they're sharing information with you, like if they're listening, because like I said, communication is a two-way street. But if they're just taking everything that you're throwing out there in, 9 times out of 10, they're not invested in the conversation. They may not be invested in you. And because I don't even care how shocking the information is that you're sharing, they're concerned. They're concerned, and they have somewhat of an investment of a friendship in you, so they're going to give feedback. Like I said, whether you like the feedback or not, if they're giving it to you and they're really listening, and there has to be somewhat of a support. There has to be somewhat of a support there during that conversation too. So you just have to be careful who you're sharing with. Like, look at those signs. Like, and to me, I don't feel like that there has to be I don't feel like that there's levels of, like, once you've shared with someone that you've trusted and you thought, and you confirmed that they shared that information even after you asked them not to share that information. To me, I don't feel like you get 1 2 3 strikes. Nah, you don't get to do that. Like, unless it was life threatening of myself, what I shared with you, and you told someone out of concern, more like an intervention type of thing, then that's one thing. But if you just put my business out there, I can't give you a second chance to do that. I cannot give you a second chance to do that. Let's see. She says, talk it out with the creator is a good idea. Yes, because they'll give you an answer. You just have to listen, open up and listen. Yes, on point. I feel we have to go to the spirit, go within, and we will get answers. You choose. It's true. Also, listening is key because many people don't listen, and that's true. That's true. You could talk yourself to you are blue in the face. And like I said, this message is meant for both the sender and the receiver when a sister is sharing. Um, because if you're really considering the person that's sharing with you a friend, and to be honest with you, you don't even have to be a friend, but you could, like, a true friend, but you could be a person of integrity. Okay, you could be a sister of integrity and be like, you know what, we was in a space amongst sisterhood, amongst Black women or whatever, and a sister felt the need to share. And because we've all been there, there needs to be some bit of understanding. Now, if you went home and you shared some of that information with your spouse, that's typical. Your spouse might not even know that woman that was at the table who was sharing. She probably, you probably, but you as another woman, especially another Black woman, you can say, you know what, um, she was sharing. She just had a moment. Maybe she had a little one or too many drinks and felt the need to put that out there. But I think another woman who's getting the information, whether it was intentional or accidentally, and you got that information, I think being a woman or a person of integrity and not sharing that information is so important. Like I said, you don't have to be the best of friend with this person, because it depends on the scenario that you all were in when that information came to you. So let's see here. Sonia says, I have no problem cutting off people who betray me. I'll take that L that I overshare, but once that trust is gone, it's gone. And yeah, I'm the same way. And I had talked about that in one of my other videos about how you can ghost people, because basically when you are someone that ghosts people, that person you decided to ghost crossed the boundary. They crossed a major boundary. And you don't always owe people an explanation. For some reason during that video, a lot of Black men, which I don't bash Black men on my channel, they hardly ever come up because this is a Black woman's channel, felt that message was targeted to them. And I was like, did you even listen to the message? I'm just stating Black women in general, which will always be my topic of conversation, because this channel is for us. I love us. I'm a Black woman. I love Black women. I'm raising one. So yeah, they felt the need, like, other women ghost other Black women. It's a thing, it's not just about ghosting men, but they felt the need to come on the channel and throw insults. They was in their feelings about being ghosted. It was so funny, but I was just like, whatever. But the thing is, the whole oversharing thing, it's just like, as a person who has overshared before, who have watched and heard other sisters overshare, it happens. It does. And like I said, if you're on the receiving end of the person that's getting the information, then at some point you have to ask yourself, am I a person of integrity that feel the need to go and spread this other sister's business while she was probably in the moment, may have had too many drinks, could have been in a traumatizing situation and felt safe among sisters and decided to share. She needed to get it out. So like I said, that's kind of um a weight between two people. Like, you have to question, like, are you a person in did you am I a person of integrity who just received this information? And it's normal, like, if you have a spouse, to come home and be like, and share that information with your spouse, because you're thinking like, I may need to talk it out with my spouse just to see if I'm not tripping, or what type of advice he would give me or she would give me or whatever. But outside of that, I need Black women to understand that it happens. It does. It happens. And just don't feel bad about it. But sometimes, if you can catch it, catch yourself in and the desire to be in a safe space, especially when Black women are amongst each other is not abnormal. Like the sisterhood is so valuable, even though, there are like, I believe in finding your tribe. I believe in the overall sisterhood amongst Black women, but I also believe within that sisterhood, you have to find your tribe. You truly have to find your tribe of women. Um, because the weight of that tribe is major. Like you've got one person over here um that may be a listener. You have another person out here that may be an extreme protector of their friends. Like it's you're finding your tribe, and it's not easy to do that. Like you lose some, you gain some throughout life. You lose and you gain tribal members throughout life. So that's very, very normal. But oversharing can come from those things. So those are the topics that I wanted to touch on. It comes from, well, it can result in the downfall of a relationship. And I took a couple notes. It can come from a lack of therapy or poor therapy. Like you could totally be seeing a therapist, but they could be not the best therapist for you, listening or giving you the information you and support that you need, which causes you could actually leave therapy and share all of the information that you were trying to share in therapy with somebody else, a total stranger. You could be sitting next to a total stranger and share information. You could be in the airport and someone can say, "Hey, how you doing?" um I've been sitting next to someone, and the whole time they're just oversharing, sitting next to me on the airplane. I don't like being in those situations, but it happens. People overshare. Um, and the normal act of needing to share. It's you have to talk it out. You have to decide who is your first go to. Is it your creator? Is it your someone in your tribe? Sometimes it can be yourself. Like I say, I talk to myself. I do. I will occasionally talk out. Even when I've like interviewed for a job, I'm playing the job before I get to the job. I'm giving scenarios, possible questions, but I'm just saying, like, those situations I'm talking about, like if you feel like you're in a situation where you're about to end a relationship, you feel like you're in a situation where you need to talk to one of your parents about something, you need to talk to a close friend about something. A lot of times, because I do talk to myself, I play that situation out. I talk to myself, and sometimes by the time I get to that individual, I don't have to overshare because I cleared a lot of things up amongst myself. I don't have to overshare. See what Sonya says. A comedian on Instagram just did a video about oversharing with a stranger. It is so hilarious and relatable. Yeah, like we do it. We do it, but it could be harmful, but it's normal. It is normal to overshare and try to talk things out. And I'm a talker. Like I tell you, some of the best situations, like some of the best energy for me is being with other Black women, especially if they're Black women that are in your tribe, being amongst other Black women um in a good space, and you are just talking things out, and you're saying this, "Oh, I can relate to that. I can relate to that. I can relate to that." Like, I'll give you an example. I think a couple weeks ago, I found this sister who was close to me in geographical location. She owns a business of natural herbs, teas, and things like that. So I was like, "Oh, and I follow her, and I was like, "Oh, that's not far from me. I'm gonna go." So I went. She um she was offering some things that I was looking for, health teas and herbal things and things like that. So very first tea I touched, it was called Woman's Health Tea or something like that. But it was a woman, she was like, "Oh, that's for sisters who have PCOS." I'm about to share. I have PCOS. So I was like, "Really?" I'm in this, and I'm telling you, that place was a whole vibe, like a real cool spiritual type of vibe. And I'm sitting up there like, this is the first tea I touched, and I felt the need to share. And I felt like that was a safe space, because if it wasn't a safe space, she wouldn't have had that tea. She had the tea. It was a place of healing that she's like, what do you have? Do you have diabetes? Do you have high blood pressure? Are you suffering from this? Do you have this? I'm here to help heal. I'm here to help heal Black women with the herbs that So I was like, oh, okay. If I don't give you some information about what I need, what I'm looking for, so I didn't feel like I overshared, but I definitely shared because I was there for a reason. Let's see here. That was alignment. It was the very first tea I touched, and it was to get a woman's hormones in balance. I mean, balanced from being imbalanced. It was a tea to get your hormone balanced. And I'm just like, I could have touched all these teas, and she had cool names like Full Stop, all these teas with these names, but the one I went in there to touch was the one I needed, right? I was in a safe space and I shared. I shared. So let's see here. Actually, traveling long trips, e.g., the bus, and met many different people, and we both shared. Yes, yes. Traveling, you will definitely end up sharing some information because we were there traveling for hours. Yes. And the vibe was positive, and you can pick up on the vibe. You can definitely pick up on another person's vibe. And then you get yourself in that safe space. Like, for instance, if you all are somewhere, probably in the Caribbean, and you met another woman that was probably, say, you met another Black woman, and she doesn't even have to be from the US, she could be from somewhere else, but she's headed to where you're headed. So you're thinking to yourself, I mean, the curiosity is there. What brings you here? What brings you, the curiosity is there. So either you're going to ask or she's going to ask. And like I said, it's normal. It's normal, but let's see here. Alignment, a good word. Yes. Yes, it was definitely alignment for me to get that tea and to be in that space. Um, Sharing with strangers feel like a safe space because if they tell your business, those people don't know you. That's true. That is true. Um, but when people share amongst people yeah, you have to see those people. And that's true too. That's true too. Sharing with strangers. And it's a form of therapy. It really is a form of therapy. Yes, it's a form of therapy. That's why, for instance, say when you take a trip somewhere and you meet a stranger, um, it could turn out to be the person that you end up spending the rest of your life with. You never ever know, but you do sometimes um, share. There's this thing where they say, oh, closed mouths don't get fed. But at the same time, there's the oversharing too. So it's like sometimes you never know. You could be in a space with someone that you never ever met. You sharing information, especially if they're the more proactive talker. If they're the more proactive talker, like say if you're sitting, you I'm just gonna give a scenario because right now that's where I want to be. Just say you're on a trip somewhere in a beautiful place like the Caribbean. You decide to take a local bus to some place you've been looking for, right? The bus is crowded. It's really good looking guys or somewhere sitting next to you or, whatever. And he's also, what brings you to here? Why are you going here? Um, he started the conversation. And then you start to talk. Then you start to talk. And I think if now there are certain things, like for instance, if you're attracted to that person, if you are attracted to that person, you're going to watch what you say. You're going to watch what you say. I believe you're going to watch what you say. But if it's another sister and she's asking you questions and you end up, you might end up oversharing. You might seriously end up oversharing, but it could turn out to be a positive thing sometimes. Let's see, I've had so many strangers tell me their deepest, darkest secrets, things their spouses don't even know. See? Now, and with that happening, sometimes I got to think, that make me question who they're married to, but you never know who you might end up meeting or talking to when you're on when you're in those situations of sharing. And like I said, I've been in a situation where I've gotten a lot of information, and the airport and traveling is always a place for that. Sometimes it's the doctor's office, but it just depends. It just depends on where you are, and work. But there's a certain type of demographic that shares. They tell all their business. So they feel like you need to tell all of your business. Oh, I'm so glad I work from home now. That is the best thing ever. But um but yeah, those are some spaces where you will find um yourself oversharing. Not work though. I was never an oversharer at my job. I was never an oversharer. Um mm-mm, I didn't do that. Not at work. And some people do, but I didn't. Um but it happens. So just in 2023, if you felt like in the past that you've overshared some information, just use some of those tips that I said. Like if it's a person that you're talking to and you've been amongst them before in a circle and you see that they've constantly shared other people's information with no hesitation, more than likely they're sharing your information. So you might want to watch it. Two, talk it out with yourself. Talk it out with your creator first. That's some good therapy. That is some good therapy, because sometimes people say, a lot of times people like, oh, you don't trust yourself. No, I trust me. I trust me enough to know I don't want to hurt myself. And I trust myself to know that I need to talk the situation out. And you can be your own best friend sometimes. You can be your own best listener and talk the situation out. Play those scenarios in your head, because a lot of times when you're sharing information, you can find yourself holding back some of the information. So the person is going to give you an answer based off of what they've received. So say there's some embarrassing information within there that you don't want to share, but you're giving them the story. They don't know everything, but they know some stuff. They going to give you information and feedback based off of what you provided for them. You know everything. Your creator knows everything. That's who knows all the business. That's who knows everything. Talk it out with yourself. Talk it out with your creator. That's where you're going to get a real answer from. That's where you're going to get a real answer from. Let's see here. Thank God for work from home. Yes, yes. But I was never a sharer at my job about my personal business. And you know what I'm saying about a certain demographic of people that share all of their information, and they feel like that because they tell everything, that you need to tell all of your business. That was one place that was easy for me not to overshare, was work. It provides more boundary, yes, but definitely I was able to not overshare as much as work. Is mm. Oh, but we've been on here for a minute. I thank you all for tuning in. I just want to say thank you to all my new subscribers. Let me see. I have some more. Let's see. There was a woman I worked with who overshared to the extent that, yes, that it was evasive. Yes, they will overshare so much. And then they what I noticed about people like that you work with, that like to overshare and are very nosy, they'll ask open-ended questions. They don't want the simple yes or, they want detailed information to where you can't just be like, mm-hmm, mm-mm, mm-mm. They ask questions to where they really, 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 really want information. Let's see. Yeah. Yes, we do know, because The only time we tend to like overshare is when we are in a place where we feel like that we're in a safe space. And a lot of times amongst Black sisterhood, that is an extremely safe place for us. It is. It is an extremely safe space for us. That's why I will forever, regardless of friends I've gained and lost throughout the years of my life, I will forever believe in the sisterhood. I really, really do. And like I said, it's all about finding your tribe, and you gain and lose tribal members as you continue the journey in life. And that's just how it is. Some gonna ride with you to the end, to the end, to the end, but you gain and you lose some, and that's just how that's life. Thank you, Jay Johnson, for tuning in. I really want to thank all my new subscribers. Hopefully by my birthday, March 9th, I can get to at least my first 100 subscribers, because I have some really good topics that I want to share with Black women and talk about, and just share a lot of topics, a lot of life experiences, a lot of scenarios, a lot of things we go through. And to me, in 2023, these years have had a question mark. They have had a question mark. And with this new year coming up, who knows what's coming. So we need these safe YouTube spaces, and it's they're out there. And I want to be a part of one that really has these safe spaces for Black women to share. Let's see. So true. I've known way too much about coworkers' business, even their intimate bedroom info. See, that's too much. That is too much information. Folks really be telling all their business at work. They do. They do. Let's see. I be at work thinking, ma'am. He said I be at work thinking, ma'am, why did I need to know your husband has ED? I'm just trying to write this report in peace. It's crazy the information that they share. And then they give off this authoritative type of has that ever happened to you? Do you know? It's like, sorry. Yeah, I can't relate. And even if I can relate, I'm not telling you a thing. You know, it's crazy. It's crazy. But like I said, hopefully by my birthday, which is coming up in March, the beginning in March, that I can get to my first 100 subscribers. I'm going to continue to keep pushing out these videos, good topics, and I really want to thank you all for tuning in. This is one of my longest lives. We've been on here almost an hour, 47 minutes. Um, but I want all those who watched this on the replay, who tuned in, to definitely have a wonderful week, a healthy week. Don't overshare. Yes, let's get me to my 100 subscribers, my first 100 subscribers. I'll be so grateful. I'm grateful for all the ones that I have now. I really, really am, that tune in and watch and share. But I just want to thank you all for tuning in. Um, oh, a new one. How do I say this? LXNCFKA Sexilus. I hope I said that right. It's a cool name though. Thank you for the good topic. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate you. I appreciate all my subscribers. And I want all Black women to have a wonderful week, whatever it is that you have. Make 2023 your year. And thank you so much for tuning in. I've got some good topics coming up. I'm going to post some pre-recorded lives, or pre-scheduled lives that I have on some good topics, and share some other things. If you have a YouTube channel in here, you can throw it in the chat. Oh, okay, she spelled it out. Let's see here. Okay. L as L. Okay. LXNC. LX. LXNC. Okay. FKA Sexilus. I think I said it right. I think I said it right. Um, But if you have a YouTube channel, I'll check you out and subscribe. There's this big movement going on too, where there's like support other Black women, subscribe to their channel. I'll definitely subscribe to your channel. I believe in supporting one another. I love that about us. That's one thing we will do as Black women is show up and come through for one another, even when we overshare. Um, sexy, sexy LX. Okay, okay. Formerly known as Sexy LX. Okay. Okay, I got it. So it's LXNC, formerly known as Sexy LX. I think I got it, right? I think I got it. Yeah, I think I got it. So you said, okay. Yeah, I think I got it. I hope I'm not appearing um slow. But sometimes the names get me, but I got it. I got it. But if you have a YouTube channel, I will check you out. Like I said, I love supporting other Black women on YouTube or whatever way I can. And check out some of my other videos. I do talk a lot about other Black women owned businesses that I like, and um, and I have some good topics coming up. Let's see. She was like, I need to remove the sexy LX, but haven't yet. If it's your name, keep it. Don't if it's your name, keep it. I like originality, so I'm okay with it. I just was having a slow moment, I guess. I don't know. I have been on YouTube for so long. I wanted to give people time to know the new name. Okay. Um, but I'll check out your channel. Like I said, I love supporting other Black women channels that have, positive, good topics, interesting stuff. So definitely I will check you out. And I thank you all so much for tuning in. Um, I have something in the oven, so I'm gonna go get it before it burns. Um, but I thank you all so much for tuning in. And like I said, the desire to have a safe space to share is not abnormal. Don't think, it happens. It happens. It happens. It happens. Um, I actually like the name now that I had it. Like it took me a minute to get it. It's you got a cute pic and everything. So if you change it, I'm gonna check out your channel and make sure I subscribe to it. Because like I said, I love Black women doing content on here. It gives us a whole nother level on YouTube to do some things. Um, but thank you so much for tuning in. Next week I'll be doing another topic. And tonight I'm gonna be working on some other things. So I should have some time to get some new pre-scheduled lives going and work on some pre-recorded videos. But I want you all to have a wonderful week. Um, Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're subscribed to my channel, check out some of these sister channels here that actually have a channel. We all do pretty much great content, and I'll check it out. And I love the support because I get it back. And I thank you all so much. So hopefully we can get me to my first 100 subscribers by my birthday in March. And thank you so much for tuning in. I want you all to have a safe week, an enjoyous week, a prosperous week, all of those things. And just don't overshare. Take care.